And welcome into the NESN MMA podcast. I'm Andre Kashkarian, joined this week, and will regularly be joined with my good friend and combat sports journalist, Manuk Akopian. His work has been featured on the LA Times, The Guardian, Al Jazeera, among other outlets, fighting outlets. Manuk, what's going on? How are you today? How is the weather in Los Angeles?
Andre, great to hear from you. Glad to be on the show. To be honest, the weather is as crappy as it is in Boston these days because it's been raining all week. Not good.
It's 55 and rainy in Boston on this Friday afternoon, 2 days before UFC Fight Night, Arizona, at the Talking Stick Resort Arena. Now, you're out on the West Coast. Have you been to the Talking Stick Resort? Not the arena, no. The resort.
I haven't, no, but it sounds like a casino I'd love to lose some money in.
You like casinos?
I like to gamble every now and then. I've never met a blackjack table I didn't like.
Well, we're going to talk about some gambling later on in this show with the big fight card with Cain Velasquez making his long-awaited return to the octagon. He hasn't fought since UFC 200 way back in July of 2016. He'll fight Francis Ngannou, who's had a very up and down 2018. Ngannou started the year off, the year of 2018, with so much hype after that unbelievable knockout against Alistair Overeem at UFC 218. Literally a month and a half later, got a title shot against Stipe Miocic at UFC 220, and he was just manhandled in 5 rounds. Miocic just destroyed him. I was there. It was in Boston. And then after that, it kind of shattered his confidence, and he lost to Derek Lewis at UFC 226 in a very underwhelming fight where he just didn't really take any chances in that fight, before finally coming back in November, Thanksgiving week, beating Curtis Blades in Beijing. And it's kind of, now it's trying to really put his name back in the title shot picture again against a guy who hasn't fought in 2.5 years. What are you expecting from Velasquez, Manuk, in this fight?
Well, Andre, I don't know any person on planet Earth that doesn't like a devastating matchup amongst Titans as much as you do. So
I love those, yes.
This is a matchup between two very elite and top-tier contenders. Obviously, with Velasquez not being in the octagon for the last 2.5 years, he has a lot of questions to answer. He's facing a very hungry fighter who's had a very active 2018, as you mentioned. Obviously, it didn't go as planned, but he was a top-tier contender, had his shot, and now he's looking to hit that next step. So Velasquez has a lot to prove. He's been riddled with injuries, most notably in his back. He even took a paternity leave. So he's in that transitionary period of his life where at 36, it's either one last hurrah and go for a third shot at that title, or, as he previously noted earlier leading up to this fight, if his performance doesn't meet his expectations, he very well likely retire.
That's exactly what he said. And Ngannou isn't a joke. He's not a walk in the park. This is one of the biggest heavyweight prospects. And I think, we're heading into that UFC 220 title fight against Stipe Miocic, there was so much hype surrounding them, and even he's talked about this. It was too fast for Ngannou, and I think it kind of got into his head, this arrogance, I guess. And Miocic kind of told him, hey, you're not there yet. And then he got shy and timid against Derek Lewis, and then I think he's realized now that this isn't easy. This is a former champion, Cain Velasquez. It's not going to be easy. He needs to realize that, and I think he has, and I think he's going to bounce back in this fight big time. He's actually the underdog right now. Speaking of gambling, he's the underdog, and plus 165. Plus 135. Ngannou minus 165 for Velasquez on OddsShark. We get all of our odds on OddsShark, so thanks to them. And I kind of like that value. We'll talk about that later. But do you think this will be for Ngannou? Like, who does this matter more for? Because again, Velasquez, he's been 2.5 years he's been gone, and he's facing a tough opponent. So if he loses, everyone will be like, okay, it was a tough opponent. He's been away from the fight game for so long. Or for Ngannou, if he loses, it'll be like, okay, he's lost 3 out of his last 4 fights now. Who is this a bigger fight for, you think?
I mean, the term, the cliche term, the crossroads fight gets thrown out a lot. This isn't necessarily one of those, but they are at a stage of their career where
yes,
this fight catapults them to a championship matchup. It's Daniel Cormier, the current champion, has made it very clear that he has one more fight in him, and he's pining for Brock Lesnar. And if he does end up beating Lesnar, it's very likely that he'll vacate the title. He's very close friends with Velasquez, so
yeah.
it'll kind of be like a little handshake agreement on the back end, where it's like, hey, I'm going to step down. Here it is. So it's something where if Velasquez wins, he is very well lining himself up for that third title chance. And then you have someone like Ngannou who blitzed the entire scene with that devastating knockout against Overeem. I still have nightmares about that thing. I don't know.
Every day I see that. Every day, nightmares.
I don't know how Overeem's head was not knocked off his shoulders. So, when you have those kind of devastating knockouts, kind of like Uriah Hall had back then, there's always that mystique and aura about you. And Ngannou has that. But like you said, he put up a stinker against Derek Lewis. Total of 31 punches landed in that fight. Very boring. And then Miocic essentially schooled him and showed his flaws. And Ngannou has said, he's looked up to the legend in the heavyweight division, and he considers Velasquez one of the people that he studied throughout his ascent. So there's a lot of respect between these two opponents, which is something you don't necessarily see at UFC events. If you saw the face-off earlier, they had a little friendly pound of the fist, and then Ngannou reached out with his left arm and embraced Velasquez over the shoulder. So there's a lot of respect. There is no hate towards each other. It should be a very exciting matchup. You have essentially the second and third contenders for that division. How it's going to play out, like you said, those odds are very likely an indicator of how this is going to play out. It's a coin flip fight, in my opinion, because you're either going to have Ngannou knock him out, as everyone thinks, or you're going to have Velasquez
wear him down,
wear him out, and do the ground and pound that he's been so great at.
It's a 5-round fight as the main event, and I think that is advantageous for Velasquez just because he's been there more in these 5-round fights, having been a champion in the past. I think with Velasquez, his main goal, I think, is to try to wear out Ngannou in the first couple rounds, make him take his shots, and if this fight goes to 3 rounds, I think it's Velasquez's fight. So he's gonna win that. He's gonna win the fight. Just because we've seen with Ngannou's cardio, it's not as strong. Saw it out in the Miocic fight. It went into the 5th round, and he was already worn down. I think Velasquez is going to try to wear this guy out, get him to the ground, as you said, do the ground and pound. Once he gets past that first or 2nd round, I think Velasquez will win this fight. However, for my pick in the fight, I am going with Ngannou. I think he's going to knock him out in the 1st round. Velasquez has been away from this game for far too long. We saw it happen with Conor McGregor. He hadn't been in the octagon. He's a legend as well. He hadn't been in the octagon for a long time. He looked rusty early on in that fight against Khabib. Same thing will happen with Velasquez. I think he's healthy. I think he'll be good to go. I don't think he will retire, as he might have thought if he didn't like his own performance. But I think this is Ngannou's in his time. He's learned his lessons. He's learned from his mistakes. One devastating knock is what to take, and Velasquez will falter. And I'm going with Ngannou. Who you got in this fight, man?
Andre, I love to argue with you and be a contrarian and pick the opposite end if I really have to, but I can't disagree with you. I'm going with Ngannou too. He has, if you're looking at it from a Venn diagram perspective, a lot of the attributes are weighting towards his side. He's younger, he's longer, he's faster. He's definitely has a 6-inch reach advantage, and if we look back at UFC history, This is the inaugural big ESPN UFC Fight Night 1. If you remember back in November 2011, UFC kicked off its Fox era with, again, Cain Velasquez against Junior Los Santos. And what happened in that fight? Velasquez was out in 1 minute. I don't know if it's going to take a minute, but I think this fight's not going to last longer than a round, and I think Ngannou is going to take it. I just hope it's not as a vicious of a knockout as we saw with Overeem, because you got to put some respect on Cain Velasquez's name. He's a legend in the division and the sport. However, I think it's Ngannou's time.
6 of Velasquez's last 9 fights were done in the first round, and for Francis Ngannou, 5 of his last 7 were done in the first round. So chances are this fight will end in the first round. If you're a betting man, let's just for our next segment here about the just nice bets that you like. You're a gambling man. I'm a gambling man. If there's one bet you're gonna do, what would it be? Let me tell you mine first. Is if you can find this bet, because I've been looking on Bovada. Maybe the night of the fight will come out, like it's a round by round bet. Like I bet that this fight will end in this round by via this decision, via knockout or submission. If you can find an Ngannou first round knockout, take it, because he's already an underdog in the fight. Sorry, yeah, plus 135. You might be getting better odds for a first round knockout. Maybe up plus 150, plus 200. That's what I'm thinking. I haven't seen it anywhere. But if you find that anywhere, take that. I love that bet. Again, 5 of his last 7 fights, Ngannou's fights, have ended in the first round. All of his wins are knockouts. 12 wins, 12 wins, 8 knockouts, but they're all finishes. 8 knockouts, 4 submissions, 12 wins. But 8 of the 12 wins are knockouts, and Velasquez, I just said 6 of his last 9 fights ended in the first round as well. So heavyweights, these are like the lightweight guys where, you're going to see more like unanimous decisions with fighters going the distance. These guys are big dudes, and they're going to knock each other out very quickly. Massive human beings. Take the first round finish for Ngannou if you can find that bet anywhere.
Andre, I can't disagree with you. Like you said, it's fistic fireworks. Beautiful. We have the UFC on Sunday. I mean, who needs the NFL
President's Day weekend.
Who needs the NFL in February when you have the UFC? I mean, we have the AAF to get our football fix, but that's another story.
I'm excited about that too. We'll do the AAF picks at the end of the show.
But it's like you said, if you can get that first round, with Ngannou, it's a good value. But it's really, you can't go wrong with either one. I'm actually surprised Velasquez is favored as much as he is, considering his 2.5-year layoff. But
I'm surprised about that too.
Even if you have one too many proper 12s on the night before you bet and you accidentally choose the wrong guy, you still might win. This is the kind of fight that this is.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I just think it's going to end in the first round. If you can find that bet, absolutely take it. Do you look at this card and want to put some money on any fighter or an outcome when you look at this UFC Arizona card?
Andre, I'm not much of a betting man. I mean, I live in California here. Scratchers galore. California lottery, everyone loves it. I can't remember the last time I spent $1 at a gas station on a scratcher. So it's a lot easier for me to give advice with money I'm not going to spend. I'm very good at that. When it comes to actually putting money out of my pocket.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I do advise our fellow listeners here something to put some money on this card.
Hey, please allow me to give you advice to recklessly bet your money. I love Vic as a favorite in this one.
James Vic?
Absolutely, yeah. Anyone with a nickname like the Texecutioner, how can you go against that? It reminds me of Bret Hart and the excellence of execution. So let's go with the Texecutioner. I think it should be a really good fight. You have 2 stand-up guys who could very well be a fight of the night contender as well. Heavy-handed strikers, good boxing skills. I mean, they could very well steal the show for what could be a quick performance in the main event. We all know Vic's prowess for submission. So I say Vic by submission.
Okay, James Vick, the Executioner, minus 120 favorite on OddsShark against Paul Felder. That's the co-main event in this card. I'm looking at the prelim card main event. Jimmy Rivera and Aljamain Sterling, a battle between two bantamweight contenders. Jimmy Rivera, very underrated guy. Let's get Jimmy Rivera's fight log, if you will. El Terror. The guy won 20 straight fights before losing to Marlon Moraes on June 1st, 2018 in Utica, UFC Fight Night Utica. That was a first-round knockout on 33 seconds, and I think that really hurt his stock. But let's not forget, Moraes is coming off a huge win against Rafael Assunção. He's the number one ranked contender in the bantamweight division right now. That guy is probably getting a title shot soon. So losing to Moraes it's not like losing to the Miami Dolphins. That's like losing to the Patriots. It's okay. No one's gonna say, oh, he lost to Marlon Moraes. That's okay. And he followed that loss up with a big win against John Dodson, and Rivera is still ranked number 5 in the bantamweight division. I think that's preposterous. So I'm excited to see how he bounces back from not bounces back. He's already bounced back. I'm excited to see how he approaches his fight against Aljamain Sterling, fellow New Yorker, who's also an exciting fighter to watch. But if Rivera gets a big victory here, you got to put him at least in the top 3, top 2. Cody Garbrandt's been relatively inactive. Dominic Cruz, he hasn't fought since God knows when. Rivera needs some more love. So I'm excited to see how he does in this fight against Sterling.
Andre, I wish I was as passionate about something in life as you are about this fight. It seems like
I'm very excited about this card. I really am. And I know in the pre-show meeting, we were discussing what we were going to talk about, and you didn't seem very excited about this card. Why is that?
You know what? It's I really can't tell you. It's not really doing it for me. I think the Cain Velasquez train has came and gone. As a lover of the sport, I respect all champions and what they do in the fight. But
but it's a legend. He's a legend. He's coming back to fight for the first time in 2.5 years, and against one of the biggest up-and-comers in the UFC. Guy, one of the most exciting fighters too. With one punch, you can change everything. How can you not be excited about this? The main event, at least. You could say what you want about the whole card, okay, whatever, but there's still a lot of big names in the card.
I just had one of my favorite legends of all time, and Fedor Emelianenko, disappoint me last month.
Yes, but this is still the UFC. That's the Bellator fight where all the washed-up fighters go. This is still a legitimate UFC fight. The winner could very much still get a title shot soon. This isn't a Fedor Emelianenko Bellator situation. I disagree with you, Manny.
Well, here's the thing. I think once we hit the weigh-ins tomorrow, once these two warriors face off, I think that's when that 48-hour stretch really is when fight week. It really gets pumped up. I'm definitely looking forward to the fight. It's just
first ever fight card on ESPN2, President's Day weekend. You got the Executioner. I'm excited about the women's strawweight bout too. Courtney Casey and Cynthia Calvillo. Calvillo, interesting fighter from California. She started off very strong, went 6-0 before losing to Carla Esparza at UFC 219, and also tested positive for marijuana metabolites after that fight. But then she followed that up with a win, so she's back on the winning track. I think she's skyrocketing up that women's strawweight division, and maybe we'll give a shot at Rose Namajunas for the title belt soon. But that's another fight I'm excited to look at. It's going to be a good night of fighting. It's Sunday night. What are you going to be doing? It's President's Day weekend. Football's over. You all should watch UFC Fight Night in Arizona. First ever fight card on ESPN. So that should be exciting.
Andre, I'm pumped. It's the ESPN on the UFC on ESPN era is something that's really great for the sport, from the sense of just getting it more mainstream acceptance, people stumbling upon the fights. If you look at the ESPN digital properties, you see that they are really promoting it from a from a journalistic standpoint as well too. I remember during the Dillashaw-Cejudo fight last month, if you look at the headline stack, you have, the fact that these fighters made weight the top story. So the fact that ESPN is investing into the journalism and reporting of the sport and amplifying it on its digital and linear platforms, it's going to be great. And I can't wait to see what the next 12 to 18 months is going to hold for the sport. And I think Sunday will be a ratings bonanza because
absolutely. I'm excited to see what the ratings will be as well. I think, Fox is Fox, and David Ortiz, Red Sox legend, is on Fox during the baseball season. And you have World Series and Super Bowls and NFL on Fox, but ESPN is the biggest sports. You think of ESPN, and Sunday night primetime on ESPN on a long weekend, you're going to have the UFC headlining the event, and again, some great fights too. So big night for the network, big night for the sport, big night for the UFC. Should be exciting. Manny Akopian, combat sports journalist. The work has been featured all over the place. LA Times, The Guardian, Al Jazeera. Thank you so much for joining me and discussing these fights. We'll be back again next week. Got a UFC fight night, I believe, in Germany the following week. So that will lead up to UFC 235 featuring John Bones Jones getting back in the octagon, and that will be exciting to talk about too. So thanks again for joining me, Manny. This was fun. Sorry, the next week's card is in Prague, Czech Republic. I was in Europe somewhere.
Sounds good, Andre. Thanks a lot. Looking forward to it.
All right. Take it easy, man. Thank you.